We are live. Sorry, this is so late, guys. Some of you are probably already in bed or whatever, or busy doing work, which is totally fair enough. So, hi, Caitlin. You're my first member. I was just saying hello to everybody. Sorry, it's a little bit later than expected, but I wanted to I just had a client, so then I kind of forgot that I had a client, so everything. Anyway, I'm here now. We are talking about natural forms of contraception. Amelia, we are talking about natural forms of contraception. Thank you guys for joining me. So, obviously, that we have been kind of programmed to think that we can get pregnant at any time of the month. That's what we've been programmed to think. Talia, we're just talking about natural contraception. And that's obviously not the case. So you can't get pregnant at any time of the month. There is only 6 days of the month that you can actually get pregnant. You need to have an egg there. An egg needs to have been released so that it can become fertile. If there's no egg there, nothing can become fertile. You know what I mean? So there is 5 days before ovulation where you want to be careful because the sperm can actually live inside you for 5 days. It can stay alive. So if you... Oh my God, so many people coming on. Guys, everybody that's just joined, we're talking about natural contraception. I've just said that you cannot get pregnant at every time at any day of the month. You can only get pregnant for 6 days in your cycle. So you can get pregnant for the 5 days before you ovulate and the 1 day after. The 5 days before you ovulate is there as a bit of a bumper because sperm can live inside you for 5 days. And if you've had sex 5 days ago and then you've ovulated, the sperm could still actually go into the egg and then you could obviously conceive. So it's the 5 days beforehand that you ovulate and the 1 day after. The 1 day after is because very occasionally you could ovulate a second time in 24 hours and that's when twins happens. So that's why we say that 1 day after, just to be sure. Some people say 5 days altogether and they forget that 1 day after. If you don't want to have babies, I would definitely be doing that 1 day after just to be on the safe side. So I want to quickly talk now that I've said that bit, so you cannot get pregnant at any time of the month. Everybody that's joining cannot get pregnant any time of the month. It's only 5 or 6 days in your cycle. So now I want to talk to you guys about... I've lost my train of thought because there's all these people jumping on. You can only get pregnant 5 days in the month. And what was I going to talk about? Contraception. Oh my God, I've had a complete mind blank. This is so embarrassing. Would I want twins? No, I do not want twins. I can't even remember what I was going to talk about. Okay, fertility awareness method. That's what I was going to talk about. So the fertility awareness method is the natural form of contraception that has no hormones in it. So fertility awareness method is also shortened to FAM. And this involves the use of taking your temperature every moment. No, not the rhythm method. This is not the rhythm method. The rhythm method is very inaccurate, and that's what doctors often mistake fertility awareness method. It's not the rhythm method. The rhythm method it can be helpful for some people as like a baseline, but it's not the rhythm method. So the rhythm method is basically saying on day 14 you ovulate. Everyone's different and you should not rely on that. So not the rhythm method. Fertility awareness is different. So fertility awareness involves taking your temperature, your cervix changes, and your cervical fluid. That's the 3 things that it involves. And women have been using this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Yep, temperature is the difference. I'm going to run through everything and then shoot me all your questions after because I'll probably answer all of them through it. So basically, with the fertility awareness method, you measure your temperature every morning. And this is your basal body temperature. It actually is measuring your metabolism. It's a really good indicator of how your thyroid is as well. So your temperature will usually sit at about mid-36. That's where it should sit. And just after you ovulate, your temperature will rise. So for the 11 days after you ovulate, your temperature will slowly rise and there'll be about a 0.3 degrees difference around about there. But of course, everybody's different. So what you'll start to see is your temperature here averaging, and then you'll see it rise just after you've ovulated, and then it will come back down. Now, by doing this method, and you want to do it for about 3 months before you rely on it, so 3 cycles, by doing this method, you'll basically be able to actually look backwards and go, okay, you'll be able to count 11 days backwards and say, that's the day I ovulated. And then going forward, that's your ovulation day. And then, 5 days beforehand, you're careful, and the 1 day after. This is how all of the apps, and like I use Natural Cycles, that's how all of those sort of things work. Literally off the programming of, you've got a rise of temperature for 11 days after you ovulate. That's the day you're ovulating, and then they warn you when your ovulation's coming up. It's fantastic. It makes it easier for you, or you can also do it yourself with charting yourself. I'm actually going to hold a workshop in Sydney, and I'm going to go through all of this in great detail. I'm going to be holding a number of workshops because there's too much to do in one workshop, where you'll learn all of this really hands-on. So you can get an app, or you can chart your cycle, and that's how you measure your temperature. Now, if your temperature isn't increasing for 11 days, you know that you're not ovulating. You can get a period and not ovulate. Now, the most important part of your cycle is ovulation, because when you ovulate, that's when you create the hormones. So without ovulation, you're not getting those delicious hormones that make you feel good, that are good for your bones, your hair, your skin, your nails, your metabolism, all that stuff. So you want to be making sure that you are actually getting that rise. And this is how you know. So that's why the temperature part of the method is fantastic. Now, of course, we like to be really sure, so we don't just have one part of the method. We've got the 2 other parts. So the other part is your cervical fluid. This is the easiest bit. So when you are about to ovulate, your cervical fluid is like raw egg whites, and that's when you know you're about to have ovulation. So it's about the day beforehand ovulation, and when you're ovulating is when you'll get the change in cervical fluid. So that's really important to look out for, as well as part of the fertility awareness method, and as part of measuring your temperature to obviously not have a baby. Or if you are wanting to have a baby, then this is how you know when to try and when is your greatest chance. If you're trying at all times of the month but ovulation, then you're not going to be, very successful. So whether you want to have a baby, whether you don't want to have a baby, the same rules apply, just flip it the other way. So that is the cervical fluid part. Now, a quick note with the cervical fluid is that if you have very high levels of estrogen, you can actually have this sort of cervical fluid a number of times throughout your cycle, and then it can make you think that you're ovulating a number of times throughout your cycle, but you're not. So if you're finding that you're getting this cervical fluid just after your period and you're not around day 14, then this is a sign that you actually have too much estrogen. Other signs of excess estrogen, which I've talked about a lot: heavy periods, migraines, blood clots, fluid retention, cramps, all that heavy PMS shit. That's also a sign of estrogen dominance. The most predominant one being heavy bleeding, blood clots, and migraines. So if you're having any of those combined with the ovulation type cervical fluid, then that's a sign that you've got estrogen dominance. Okay, so for all those joining, we've talked about the temperature part of the fertility awareness method, and we've also talked about the cervical fluid. If you might want to jump back and watch this at the beginning of this once we've finished, so that you can catch up on this, because it's all really good information. So those are the 2 parts of the fertility awareness method. The third part is feeling your cervix change. So majority of the time around in your cycle or the month, whatever you want to say, your cervix actually fits quite low, and it's about 1 finger high up inside your vulva. Little fun fact for you, that is not called your vagina, it's called your vulva. Your vagina is where you pee. It's not where you pee. Your vagina is where where the baby comes out. So it's about 1 finger up is where your cervix is. Now that's at the normal times in your cycle and it's quite firm, okay? And it feels quite tough. But when you ovulate, it sits higher and it feels a lot softer. So that's another thing that you can be feeling for and looking at in your cycle. Some people really just aren't quite sure about that and not sure what to feel with. Just have a play with it and just use it as another part of your fertility awareness method, and start getting used to it. So a couple months down the track, you're familiar with it. But doing the temperature and cervical fluid is a great start, and that's what I do. Okay, cool. So let me make sure that I'm covering everything. Waking temp, yep, we've done that. Cervical fluid, cervix position. Oh yeah, another part of the fertility awareness method, which is like an extra thing, which I really like doing, and it's really great to do when you first start doing the fertility awareness method, is doing an LH strip test. So LH stands for luteinizing hormone. It's basically your brain saying release an egg. That's basically what it is. So you can test this hormone in your pee. So basically it's like peeing on a stick, and like peeing on a pregnancy stick, and you pee on it, and it basically tests where your luteinizing hormone is. You should start doing this on day 8, and do it for a couple days from day 8. And once your luteinizing hormone is at the highest, and it will tell you this on the strips when you buy them from the chemist, it'll explain all that on there. That's when you know you're ovulating, and that's another great thing to put into the app as another reminder. This is my ovulation day. It's all these little things that pile up and create an amazing, amazing form of contraception or conception if you want to have a baby or not have a baby. It's the same rules apply, just flip it, as I said before. So that is the fertility awareness method. Now this method involves no hormones, which is amazing. You can listen to your body. You are able to understand your body to a whole new degree. Not only are you yourself involved in your contraception method, but you also can involve your partner. And this is amazing because normally it's the girl who's doing who's got the pill, who's got the IUD, who's got the patch, whatever. Or it's the guy who's doing the condoms, right? It's one or the other. This way, it's both. Both parties are involved. You know, obviously the girl is doing a temperature, blah, 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 but the guy also has to be really, really aware of what's happening in your cycle. And it's a beautiful thing because you're educating him, okay? And it kind of brings it does bring the two of you closer as well. So that's just a really amazing side bonus of the fertility awareness method. It also allows you to cycle sync, which I will talk about in another thing. But cycle syncing is basically syncing your life with where you are in your cycle. For example, when you are ovulating, that is when your communication levels are at its best. So when you're ovulating is the best time to go out. It's the best time to have fun on a Saturday night. It's the best time to meet new people, because your estrogen is at its highest and you feel your best. You feel your sexiest. You put more effort into how you look, all this stuff. And when you are not on a hormonal form of contraception, you're actually able to tune into this and experience this. And I'm telling you, it's fucking magical. It seriously is a superpower. Being a woman and understanding your cycle is a fucking superpower. I'm seriously telling you this from my own experience, and I have goosebumps telling you this. It's a superpower. Okay. There is a few other forms of contraception that you can use that actually don't have any hormones involved in them. So you can use a diaphragm without spermicide, and this has the typical failure rate of 12%. So it's a little bit higher. One thing I did forget to say was the failure rate of the fertility awareness method. So if you watch my YouTube video, you will have heard this already, but I'm going to reiterate it because it's so important. So the pill's typical use rate. So the perfect use rate is 0.3%, and that's when people are using it perfectly. I don't know one person that actually uses the pill perfectly. So the perfect failure rate for the pill is just, don't even listen to it because nobody uses the pill perfectly. The typical use failure rate, which is a much better indicator of how the pill works because it's the typical person and the typical way they use the pill, that failure rate is 9%. The typical failure rate for the fertility awareness method is 1.8%. So the pill's failure rate is 9%. Typical the fertility awareness method, no hormones, all good. Understanding your body is only 1.8%. I would definitely rather go with the 1.8% failure rate. So if you didn't understand that, you are less likely to fall pregnant using the fertility awareness method than using the pill. And there's no side effects to the fertility awareness method besides nothing. There's no bad side effects, only good side effects. So there's the diaphragm, which you can insert up to 2 hours before you have sex. But of course there's that like, I have to remember 2 hours beforehand or whatnot. But it's also great because if you do put it in 2 hours beforehand, then you're good to go, okay? But the failure rate is 12%. So that's a little bit higher. The cervical cap without spermicide. The reason why you don't want spermicide is because it can give you yeast infections. It's really bad for your vagina. You just don't want spermicide. So the cervical cap without spermicide, and this has no hormones as well as a contraception method. It fits around your cervix, and the typical use failure rate for that is 8%. So it's still a lot higher than the fertility awareness method. Now, one method that you're probably going to be surprised I'm mentioning, because I think often it's the, oh my God, that's such a risky method, is, what's the actual word? Withdrawal. The withdrawal method. Basically, it means you're having sex and the guy pulls out. That's what it means, the withdrawal method. This has been used for more than 2,500 years, okay, because this was an amazing method for people to use. And the failure rate when used properly is 4%. Pretty good failure rate, okay? So that's another really great one to consider, but it's when used properly. So when used properly means you cannot rely on that method if you have sex twice. So if you have sex once and you're like, oh, I want to go again, and you have it again, you can't rely on that method because sperm could still be like around. So you don't want to do that. If you do want that, he needs to go pee in between to like flush it out. Okay, so that's the withdrawal method, 4% failure rate. Still, fertility awareness method, which is the no contraception method. For all you new people, I would really, really recommend watching the beginning of this after, because I talk about the fertility awareness method, which is the best contraception method to use, and it helps you understand your body. So make sure you go back and listen to that. Kate, hi, make sure you go back and listen to the beginning of this because it's got all the good information, and I'm wrapping up. So the fertility awareness method, the failure rate is 1.8%, whereas the pull-out method or withdrawal method is 4%, but still really low compared to the pill, which is 9%. There is also the copper IUD. Now, this can be used as a really great form of contraception because it doesn't have any hormones in it, but it comes with side effects. So the copper IUD is inserted into your vagina. If you don't know what an IUD is, basically it looks like that and it sits inside your vagina. That's, if you Google IUD, like a copper IUD, it doesn't, don't worry, it doesn't show you like really graphic images. It shows you like diagrams, and it sits inside your uterus like that. Hey Petra. That is the copper IUD, and basically it's got copper coils around the top part of the T, and basically it just stops sperm getting up there, but also the pure fact that you've got a foreign object in your uterus is going to stop an embryo from being from a baby being made and an embryo being implanted. So that's another one, but these are the side effects of the copper IUD. Now, this is not the Mirena IUD. The Mirena IUD has synthetic hormone and it ain't good. The copper IUD is okay. So the failure rate is 0.6%, which is a tiny bit lower than the fertility awareness method, but these are the side effects. So it can be quite painful for the first 12 months having your period. Once you get the copper IUD, you do still get your period, you do still ovulate, all that stuff on your, when you have this in. That's why it's a great one, because you still get all the natural hormones, but it can mean you've got painful periods for about 12 months. Your periods will also be 20 to 50% heavier after getting the copper IUD. And it can come out of you without you realizing, and then obviously you can have sex and fall pregnant. So, oh, thank you. I love talking about periods, so that's really nice. Thank you so much. Okay, so they are the non-hormonal types of contraception that you want to be looking at using or implementing in your life. Oh, of course, condoms as well. Condoms is another form of contraception, non-hormonal, and that's really great. I really need to go because I have chicken bones in the oven for my bone broth, and I think they're gonna burn. So go back and watch this if you've missed the beginning. The beginning is the best bit because I talk about the fertility awareness method, which is the most important part of the whole thing because it empowers you and you understand your body and all that sort of stuff. If you live in Sydney, come to my workshop. I haven't announced it yet. I haven't even planned it. Come to my workshop and we'll be talking all about this. Or if you've just seen on my Instagram story, I'm now doing strategy sessions, which is basically talking a one-on-one session where we talk all about your period and I give you a whole pile of tips and tricks and basically give you a game plan that you go out and implement in your life. And that's just a one-off session because that's all you really need. I need to just give you the information and for you to go and test it yourself, and you can always come back to me for another session if you need. But I just can't answer everyone's questions because it takes up so much of my time and I really unfortunately don't have much time these days. That is everything. Fertility awareness method, failure rate 1.8 compared to pill of a 9% failure rate. Amazing. Fertility awareness method is the one. Hey Caitlin, fertility awareness method is definitely the one you want to go for, and you get all the amazing hormones and you get to experience the beautiful phases of your cycle, which I will talk about in another live. I'm gonna go, guys, so I don't burn my chicken bones for my bone broth because I really want to make bone broth. Hello everybody, thank you. I will talk to you guys later. Of course, message me with any questions and I will quickly answer them. But if you want a deep discussion with me about your period, then book in for a newly released strategy session. You can just DM me if you want and we'll book one in for you. And they're only $80, so they're super affordable as well because I want all of the youngsters to be able to afford it. And yes, I will talk to you guys later. Mwah. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you for all your support all the time. I love you guys so much. I love what I do. Bye-bye.